And House members debated through the night on the multi-trillion-dollar tax break package, ever hopeful they can pass the bill by this weekend. A floor vote could come as soon as today. Republican leaders are hoping to secure enough support to deliver the president's signature legislation, but Democrats and some skeptical Republicans are pushing back on the huge bill, saying it would increase the deficit and cut vital programs like Medicaid. The rare overnight session, which is still going this morning, is also adding pressure and tension among lawmakers. And we want to go now to get a little bit more on that overnight debate, as I mentioned, that is still going, from our Scripps News Deputy Political Director, Joe St. George, who's joining me live now. So, Joe, what is the latest on this overnight hearing and the status of this bill?
Yeah, good morning, Steph. Good to see you. You know, we've been covering every angle of this story, and we will continue to do so throughout the day because it's so consequential. If you're waking up and streaming with us here on Scripps News and you're wondering, well, how is this going to impact you? Quite frankly, it's difficult to find an American that this legislation would not impact. As we've been saying all week, if you're a parent of a newborn child, this modestly changes the child tax credit for millions of families. It creates newborn savings accounts. When it comes to immigration and the border, an issue that so many Americans voted for in November, billions of dollars to change border security procedures. It institutes new fees for asylum seekers, $1,000 to apply for asylum. That's never happened before in this country. If you're an older American, your tax liability could be changing. That makes a big difference for millions and millions of retirees in this country. Not to mention, there are changes to Medicaid. North of 70 million Americans have Medicaid, and we know that many conservatives have been actively advocating for new things like work requirements to be instituted. Things like either you have to work, sometimes perhaps the number is 80 hours a month. We'll have to see what the final number is. We expect some movement on that front today. You might have to go to education or volunteer in order to maintain your Medicaid benefits. That is massively consequential. And yes, there are campaign promises, like the campaign promise President Trump made over the campaign of 2024, no taxes on tips for service workers. This Rules Committee, which, as you've been highlighting all morning, Steph, began at 1 a.m. in the morning. And Democrats have pounced on this, saying if this is one big, beautiful bill, why are Republicans trying to pass it in the cover of darkness? Republicans have told the Scripps News Group that it's because this is the earliest under rules and procedures that this legislation could go to the Rules Committee. They want this thing on the floor of the House perhaps as soon as today. The vote may slip to tomorrow, but a number of Republican congressmen this morning have said on various cable news outlets they think this vote's going to happen today. So we're talking about a massively consequential piece of legislation. I do, Steph, before I toss it back to you, want to just share one sentence that the Congressional Budget Office has shared with members of Congress. I think this is an important part of this debate as well, because so much of this debate, Democrats are saying is, well, this is benefiting the wealthy. The agency estimates that in general, resources would decrease for households in the lowest 10th percent of income distribution, whereas resources would increase for household in the highest distribution. That coming from the Congressional Budget Office. The Joint Committee on Taxation has estimated that 2/3 of the country by 2027 would be paying less in taxes because of this bill. As we look at live pictures of the Rules Committee, that was Congressman Joe Neguse of Colorado. So, Stephanie, big day, right? I mean, you're a congressional political junkie like me. It's not often that we get legislation like this potentially on the floor of the House.
Absolutely. I was reading that Congressional Budget Office letter myself just this morning. It's really great for any American who really wants to understand what's in this bill. The CBO actually spells it out in kind of everyday people terms, which makes it easier to understand than the hundreds of pages that are actually written up as the legislation.